Qur'an, Chapter 36, Surah Yā-Sīn, by Sayyid Qutb, translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Yā-Sīn. By the wise Qur'an, truly you are among the messengers on a straight path, a revelation from the mighty, the merciful, so that you may warn a people whose forefathers were not warned, for they are heedless. Indeed, the word has proven true against most of them, for they do not believe. We have placed shackles around their necks up to their chins, so their heads are forced up. And we have placed a barrier before them and a barrier behind them, and we have covered them so they cannot see. It is the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. You can only warn those who follow the reminder and stand in awe of the most merciful, even though they do not see him. So give such a one glad tidings of forgiveness and a generous reward. Truly, it is we who give life to the dead and record what they have sent before and the traces they leave behind. All things have we encompassed in a clear record. And strike for them an example. The people of the town, when the messengers came to it, we sent to them too, but they rejected them, so we reinforced them with a third, and they said, "Truly, we are messengers to you." They replied, "You are but mortals like us. The most merciful has sent down nothing, you are only lying." The messengers said, "Our sustainer knows that we have been sent to you, and our duty is only to deliver the message clearly." They said, "We see an evil omen in you. If you do not stop, we shall surely stone you, and a painful punishment will afflict you from us." The messengers said, "Your omen is with yourselves. Is it because you are reminded? Truly, you are a people transgressing all bounds." Then there came from the farthest part of the city a man running. He said, "O my people, follow the messengers, follow those who ask no reward of you, and who are rightly guided. Why should I not worship the one who created me, and to whom you shall all return? Shall I take besides him other gods? If the most merciful desires harm for me, their intercession will avail me nothing, nor can they save me. In that case I would indeed be in manifest error. Indeed I have believed in your sustainer, so listen to me." It was said, "Enter paradise." He said, "Would that my people knew of how my sustainer has forgiven me and made me one of the honoured." And after him we sent no hosts from the heaven against his people, nor would we send such hosts. It was but a single cry, and behold, they were extinguished. This surah, revealed in Makkah, is marked by its short verses and swift rhythms. The 83 verses, though fewer than the 45 of the previous surah, Fatir, are shorter, giving it a unique tone. The quick succession of the verses, with their sharp and repeated sounds, beats upon the heart like a steady pulse, intensifying its effect through vivid imagery. Its main themes revolve around the Mecca revelation's central goal, establishing the foundation of faith. From the opening verses, the surah emphasizes the divine nature of revelation and the truth of prophethood. It recounts the story of a people visited by messengers to warn against the dire consequences of denying the truth. And as is the Qur'an's way, the story is used to reinforce its moral message. Toward the end of the surah, the message is revisited. We did not teach him poetry, nor would it befit him. This is only a reminder and a clear Qur'an to warn whoever is truly alive and to establish the truth against the disbelievers. In this surah, the theme of divinity and the oneness of God is highlighted, as seen in the impassioned words of the believer who came from the farthest part of the city, pleading with his people concerning the truth brought by the messengers. He declares, "Why should I not worship the one who created me, and to whom you shall all return? Shall I take gods besides him? If the most merciful intends harm for me, their intercession will avail me nothing, nor will they save me. Truly, I would be in manifest error." This theme is revisited near the end of the surah. Yet they have taken gods besides God, hoping they might be helped. But they are unable to help them, and instead they will be brought forth as an army to defend them. The central focus of this surah, however, is the issue of resurrection and life after death, a subject that echoes throughout its verses. Early in the surah we find, "Truly, we give life to the dead, and we record what they have sent ahead and the traces they leave behind. All things have we encompassed in a clear record." This theme resurfaces in the story of the people of the town, where the immediate reward of the believing man is portrayed. It was said, "Enter paradise." He said, "If only my people knew how my sustainer has forgiven me and made me one of the honored." The surah continues to stress the certainty of resurrection in the face of the disbelievers' mockery. They say, "When will this promise come to pass if you are truthful?" They await nothing but a single cry that will seize them while they dispute, and they will not be able to make a will nor return to their families. The narrative then leads into a vivid depiction of the day of resurrection, and towards the end, a profound dialogue occurs. And he gives us an example forgetting his own creation. He says, "Who will give life to these bones when they have crumbled to dust? Say, he who brought them into being the first time will give them life, for he is well versed in every kind of creation." These foundational matters of faith, recurrent in the Meccan surahs, are always presented from different angles, illuminated by various perspectives and accompanied by elements that harmonize with the mood and rhythm of the surah's verses. In this surah, the vivid imagery is drawn especially from scenes of the Day of Judgment, from the dialogues of the story, and from the fates of ancient peoples who rejected the truth. Additionally, there are numerous and varied cosmic signs that awaken the soul. The dead earth brought to life, the day peeled from the night until darkness prevails, the sun running its course to its appointed station, the moon waxing and waning until it returns like an old withered palm stalk, the ships that carry the progeny of mankind, the animals subjected for human use, the drop of fluid transformed into a human being, becoming a clear adversary, and the green tree from which they kindle fire. Alongside these powerful images are other stirring reminders that touch the human heart. The vision of those who deny the truth, their necks bound with chains, their heads forced upwards, blinded by a barrier before and behind them. Their hearts and deeds, exposed to God's knowledge, are laid bare, as nothing can be hidden from him. And the power of creation is captured in a single phrase. His command when he wills something is only that he says to it, "Be," and it is. All of these are signs that deeply move the heart as it perceives their truth in the very fabric of existence. The surah's narrative unfolds in three distinct stages. The first begins with the solemn oath by the letters Yā-Sīn and the wise Qur'an, affirming the prophethood of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, proclaiming that he is indeed upon a straight path. It then reveals the tragic end of the heedless ones who deny the truth, for they are eternally barred from guidance. The message of warning only reaches those who follow the reminder and stand in awe of the most merciful unseen. Following this, the prophet is instructed to set forth the example of the people of the town, recounting their rejection and the dire consequences that befell them. The surah also portrays the profound faith of the believing man, his testimony to the truth and the reward of his belief. The second stage opens with a cry of regret over humanity's persistent denial of the messengers and their mockery, heedless of the fates of those who rejected the truth before them and blind to the abundant signs of God in the cosmos. This section vividly portrays the cosmic scenes that were previously alluded to and expands into a detailed portrayal of the day of resurrection. The third section of the surah essentially encapsulates all its major themes. It begins by refuting the claim that what Muhammad, peace be upon him, brought is poetry, and it asserts that the prophet has no connection to poetry at all. It then moves to present various scenes and touches that affirm the uniqueness of God's divinity, chastising those who take deities besides him, seeking their aid, even though they are the very ones who must protect these so-called gods. The surah revisits the theme of resurrection, reminding them of their first creation from a mere drop of fluid, pointing out that reviving decayed bones is no different than their original creation. Neither should be deemed strange. It draws their attention to the green tree from which fire emerges, a phenomenon seemingly contradictory, yet a sign of divine power. Finally, the surah concludes with the profound declaration. His command, when he wills something, is only that he says to it, "Be," and it is. So exalted is he in whose hand is the dominion of all things, and to him you shall return. Now, after this comprehensive overview, let us delve into the details. Yasin, by the wise Qur'an you are indeed one of the messengers upon a straight path, a revelation from the mighty, the merciful, that you may warn a people whose forefathers were not warned, and thus they remain heedless. The word has already proven true against most of them, for they do not believe. We have placed shackles around their necks up to their chins, so their heads are forced upwards, and we have placed a barrier before them and a barrier behind them, and we have covered them so they do not see. It is the same whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. You can only warn those who follow the reminder and stand in awe of the most merciful unseen. So give them glad tidings of forgiveness and a noble reward. Truly we give life to the dead, and we record what they have sent ahead and the traces they leave behind, and all things we have encompassed in a clear register. God, in his majestic wisdom, swears by these two letters, Yā-Sīn, and by the wise Qur'an. The inclusion of these disjointed letters at the beginning of the surah, coupled with the mention of the Qur'an, affirms the miraculous nature of the revelation. These letters, familiar to the Arabs, are the very substance from which the Qur'an is composed, yet its eloquence and depth remain beyond their capacity to replicate. The Qur'an is described as wise. Wisdom is a trait of the discerning, and to attribute it to the Qur'an is to suggest that it possesses life, intention and will, all qualities inherent in wisdom. Though this is a metaphor, it captures a profound truth. For indeed the Qur'an has a spirit of its own. It carries the qualities of the living, engaging with your heart and responding to your soul when you open yourself to it. The more you purify your heart and listen attentively with your spirit, the more you uncover its hidden depths and secrets. You begin to yearn for its companionship, much like one longs for the presence of a dear friend whose company brings solace and insight. The Prophet, peace be upon him himself, loved to hear the Qur'an recited by others and would stand outside the doors of those reciting it, listening intently as one listens to the story of a beloved. The Qur'an is wise, addressing each person according to their capacity, striking the sensitive chords of the heart and guiding with precision, addressing individuals with the wisdom suited to their condition. It nurtures with wisdom, following a straight intellectual and emotional path, channeling all human capacities toward what is good and right. It also establishes a framework for life that allows for all human activities to flourish, as long as they align with the guidance of this wise method. God swears by Yā-Sīn and the wise Qur'an to affirm the truth of the revelation and the mission of his noble messenger. Indeed, you are one of the messengers upon a straight path. Though God has no need to take an oath, his swearing by the Qur'an and its letters confers upon them a dignity and majesty beyond measure. When God swears by something, it is an indication of its greatness, elevating it to a status worthy of being sworn by the sustainer of all existence. Indeed, you are one of the messengers. This phrasing suggests that the sending of messengers is a long-established truth, not in need of further proof. The point to be affirmed is that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is truly among these messengers. This is addressed directly to the Prophet himself, not to the deniers, elevating the status of the oath, the Prophet, and the message above any debate or argument. It is a simple, direct declaration from God to his messenger, upon a straight path. This defines the nature of the message after affirming the status of the messenger. The message is one of pure straightness, like the edge of a sword, free from any crookedness, deviation, or ambiguity. Its truth is crystal clear, untainted by error or confusion. It does not sway with desire, nor does it bend to self-interest. Its clarity and directness are available for all who seek the truth with sincerity, guiding them with precision and certainty. For its straightness, this path is simple, devoid of any complexity, free from convolution or artifice. It does not burden matters with needless complications or ensnare the mind in intricate debates and speculative imagery. Rather, it proclaims the truth in its purest, most unadulterated form, stripped of all impurities and extraneous details. It is rich in meaning without needing elaborate explanations or the multiplication of words, without driving its concepts through twisting paths and winding detours. It is a path upon which both the nomad and the city dweller can walk, the illiterate and the learned, the inhabitant of a humble cottage and the dweller of grand mansions. Each will find in it what suffices for their needs, and will grasp from it what harmonizes their life, their order, and their connections, with ease and clarity. This path aligns with the natural order of the universe and the laws governing existence, in harmony with the nature of the world and the creatures surrounding man. It does not clash with the essence of things, nor does it demand that man defy their nature. Rather, it moves in consonance with them, cooperating with the laws that govern creation and all that it contains. Thus, it is a path that leads directly to God, connecting the follower to him. Those who follow this path have no fear of straying from their Creator, nor do they worry about losing their way to him. They tread a straight road, which brings them ultimately to the pleasure of the Almighty. The Qur'an is the guide along this straight path. Wherever man walks with it, he finds this straightness reflected in its depiction of the truth, in its guidance towards it, and in its decisive judgments about values, placing each one in its proper place. A revelation from the Mighty, the Merciful. Here, God introduces himself to his servants in this manner, so they may grasp the true nature of what has been sent down to them. He is the Mighty, the Powerful, who does what he wills, and he is the Merciful, who acts with kindness toward his creation, desiring mercy for them in all that he does. As for the wisdom behind this revelation, it is for warning and delivering the message that you may warn a people whose forefathers were not warned, so they are heedless. Heedlessness is the gravest affliction that corrupts hearts. A heedless heart is a heart paralyzed, unable to perceive, be affected, or respond. The signs of guidance pass it by, or it passes them by, without the heart sensing or recognizing them, without it stirring or receiving. Thus, warning is most suited for those engulfed in heedlessness, those whose generations passed without receiving any warning or awakening. They are from the progeny of Ismail, and after him no messenger came to them. Therefore the warning might awaken those drowned in heedlessness, those who received no prior messenger to alert them, nor their forefathers. The Surah then reveals the fate of these heedless ones, the decree of God that has befallen them, in accordance with his knowledge of their hearts and their ultimate destiny. What was and what will be, indeed the word has come into effect upon most of them, so they do not believe. God's decree has been established for most of them, according to his knowledge of their inner reality and the nature of their hearts. They will not believe, and this is their final end. Their souls are veiled from guidance, their sight blinded to its signs. Here a vivid image of their spiritual condition is drawn, a scene of shackled souls, forcibly barred from seeing the truth. They are bound, hindered by barriers before and behind them, and their vision is veiled. Indeed, we have placed shackles around their necks, up to their chins, so their heads are forced upwards. And we have placed a barrier before them and a barrier behind them, and we have covered them so they do not see. Their hands are bound by chains tied to their necks, forcing their heads upwards. They cannot lower them to see what is in front of them. Thus, they are deprived of the freedom to look ahead. Even if they were released from these chains, they would still be unable to see, as they are surrounded by barriers. Even if they attempted to look, their vision would be obstructed by these barriers, and their sight veiled by fatigue. Despite the intensity and violence of this image, one can meet such people in real life. People who cannot see the clear truth or perceive it, as if a harsh barrier truly stands between them and it. Even if these chains do not physically bind their hands or raise their heads, their souls and hearts are similarly restrained from guidance, forcibly turned away from the truth. They are barred from the signs of guidance by a barrier in front and a barrier behind. Such were those who faced the Qur'an with denial and rejection, despite its manifest proofs, despite its self-evident authority, which no human heart can withstand. It is all the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them. They will not believe. God has decreed their fate based on his knowledge of the nature of their hearts, which are impermeable to faith. No warning can benefit a heart that is not ready to receive faith, that is closed off from it, walled off from its light. Warning does not create hearts, but it awakens the living heart that is prepared to respond. You can only warn those who follow the reminder and stand in awe of the most merciful unseen. So give them glad tidings of forgiveness and a noble reward. Here, the reminder most likely refers to the Qur'an. The one who follows the Qur'an and stands in awe of the most merciful, though they have not seen him, is the one who benefits from the warning. It is as if the warning is directed exclusively at them, though it is general in nature. Those others, however, are barred from receiving it. Thus the warning is effectively limited to those who follow the Qur'an and fear the most merciful unseen. Such individuals deserve the good news of forgiveness and a noble reward. Forgiveness for any missteps, as long as they are not persistently repeated, and a generous reward for their reverence of God and their adherence to his guidance. These two qualities, fear of the unseen and adherence to revelation, are intertwined. No heart that truly fears God can fail to follow his commands and walk the path he has ordained. Here, the certainty of resurrection is affirmed, and the precision of the final reckoning is emphasized. Indeed, we give life to the dead, and we record what they have sent ahead and their footprints, and all things we have enumerated in a clear register. Resurrecting the dead was a subject of much debate, and in this surah various examples are provided to illustrate this. The surah warns them that every deed their hands have sent forth and every trace they leave behind is recorded and preserved. Nothing escapes the record, nothing is forgotten. God, the one who gives life to the dead, who records all that they have done and the traces they leave behind, who counts everything in precise detail, is the one who ensures that all these matters will come to pass in the way that befits the divine will. The clear record and the preserved tablet, and similar expressions, are best understood as references to God's eternal, all-encompassing knowledge which surrounds everything in the universe. After presenting the matters of revelation and prophecy and the question of resurrection and judgment in this declarative manner, the narrative shifts, offering these themes in the form of a story that touches the heart, recounting scenes of disbelief and faith and the consequences that follow, unfolding vividly before the listener's eyes, and present to them the example of the people of the town when the messengers came to it. When we sent to them two, but they denied them, so we strengthened them with a third. And they said, Indeed, we are sent to you as messengers. They said, You are not but men like us, and the Most Merciful has not revealed anything. You are only lying. They said, Our Sustainer knows that we are indeed messengers to you, and our only duty is to deliver the clear message. They said, We consider you an evil omen. If you do not stop, we will surely stone you, and you will suffer a painful punishment from us. They said, Your evil omen is with yourselves. Is it because you were reminded? Rather, you are a transgressing people. The Qur'an does not specify who the people of the town were, nor does it name the town itself. Various reports differ, but chasing these stories yields no real benefit. The Qur'an's silence on the specifics is a sign that knowing the name or location of the town adds nothing to the story's lesson or impact. Thus, the text moves directly to the heart of the matter. It is a town to which God sent two messengers, just as he sent Moses and his brother Aaron to Pharaoh and his people. The people of this town rejected the two messengers, so God reinforced them with a third, affirming that all three were indeed messengers from him. Together they reiterated their claim and call, saying, We are indeed sent to you as messengers. The people of the town responded with the same objections that have echoed throughout the history of prophets and their messages. You are but men like us. The Most Merciful has not sent anything. You are only lying. This recurring objection to the humanity of the prophets reflects a simplistic and naive understanding, a lack of comprehension of the nature of prophethood. They expected that there must be something mysterious, some otherworldly secret in the person of the prophet. surrounded by myths and legends. After all, they reasoned, if he is a messenger from the heavens to the earth, how could he be a mere human, exposed and simple, with no secrets or enigmas surrounding him? How could he be an ordinary human being, just like those who fill the markets and dwell in homes? Such is the naivety of their thinking. For mystery and wonder are not inherent qualities of prophethood, at least not in this childish, fanciful sense. There is indeed a great and profound secret, but it lies in the simple, tangible reality that a human being from among these very people has been endowed with the divine capacity to receive the revelation from the heavens when God chooses him for this extraordinary mission. This is far more wondrous than the suggestion that the messenger should be an angel, as they often proposed. Prophethood is a divine system for humanity to live by, and the life of the prophet serves as the practical example of living according to that divine system. This is the model the prophet offers his people to follow, and since they are human, their messenger must also be human, so they can emulate his way of life. Hence, the life of the prophet, peace be upon him, was laid bare for his community to witness, and the Qur'an, God's enduring book, recorded the key moments of his life down to the smallest details. It stands as a record for his community to see through the ages the life of their human prophet. These details even extend to his private, personal moments, for at times the Qur'an recorded the stirrings of his heart so that future generations might glimpse into the heart of this prophet, this human being. Yet, it is this very simple and clear truth that has always been the subject of human objection. The people of the town said to their three messengers, "You are nothing but men like us." By this, they meant that they could not possibly be messengers. "The Most Merciful has not revealed anything," they said, rejecting the idea that any divine revelation had come to them. "You are only lying," they accused, asserting that the claim of prophethood was a mere falsehood. With the calm assurance of those who are certain of their truth and aware of their role, the messengers replied, "Our sustainer knows that we are indeed sent to you, and our duty is only to deliver the clear message. God knows, and that is sufficient. The role of the messengers is simply to convey the message, and they have fulfilled that duty." The people, then, are free to choose their course, bearing the consequences of their choices. The relationship between the messengers and the people is defined by this delivery of God's message. Once this is accomplished, all matters thereafter are in God's hands. Yet the disbelievers, in their delusion and stubbornness, cannot accept such a simple and clear approach. They cannot tolerate the presence of those who call to guidance. Their arrogance in sin overcomes them, and they resort to violent resistance, for falsehood is always narrow-minded and hostile. They said, "We consider you an evil omen. If you do not stop, we will stone you, and you will suffer a painful punishment from us." They said, "We are pessimistic about you. We expect harm and ill fortune from your message. If you do not cease, we will not remain silent. We will stone you, and you will suffer great pain from us." Thus, falsehood reveals its brutal nature, unleashing threats upon the bearers of truth, attacking with violence and oppression in the face of the quiet, steady voice of truth. Falsehood rages in both expression and thought, but the duty laid upon the messengers requires them to continue on their path. They said, "Your evil omen is with yourselves. Is it because you were reminded? Rather, you are a people who exceed all bounds." The belief in ill omens from people or from their words is a relic of pre-Islamic Jahiliyyah. The messengers clarify to their people that this belief is nothing more than superstition. Any good or evil that befalls them does not come from external sources, but lies within themselves, tied to their own intentions and deeds. Their fortune, whether good or bad, is the result of their own actions. God's decree for a person manifests through their inner self, their direction and their actions. Each carries their fate with them. This is the enduring truth based on a sound foundation. Superstition about people, places or words has no basis in reality and cannot stand in the light of this understanding. And they said to them, "Is it because we have reminded you?" Meaning, Do you stone us and threaten us simply because we remind you? Is this the reward for offering you guidance? No, but you are a people who have gone beyond all bounds. You have transgressed the limits in your thinking and judgment. You respond to advice with threats and warnings, and you answer the call to truth with violence and torture. Such was the response of the hearts closed off to the message of the messengers, a vivid example of the kind of souls mentioned earlier in the surah. It is a real-life portrayal of that human pattern drawn in the first part of the chapter. Yet there exists another kind of soul, one that heeds the reminder and fears the most merciful unseen, a heart that responds in a manner entirely different. And there came from the farthest part of the city a man running. He said, "O my people, follow the messengers, follow those who ask no reward of you and who are rightly guided. And why should I not worship the one who created me and to whom you will all be returned? Should I take gods besides him? If the most merciful intends harm for me, their intercession will not avail me in the least, nor can they save me. Indeed, I would then be in manifest error. Truly, I have believed in your sustainer, so listen to me." This is the response of a pure heart to the call of truth, marked by honesty and simplicity, warmth and clarity of understanding. It is a natural response to the powerful, undeniable truth. Here is a man who, upon hearing the call, responds immediately, recognizing in it the clear signs of truth and reason, which he explains to his people in his plea. When his heart felt the reality of faith, he could not remain silent. He did not stay hidden in his home, content with his belief while watching falsehood, denial, and transgression spread around him. Instead, he rose up, driven by the truth that had settled deep within his conscience and moved him to action. He hurried to his people, even though they were denying, rejecting, and threatening the messengers. He came rushing from the farthest corner of the city, feeling the urgency of his duty to call his people to the truth, to restrain them from injustice, and to resist their wrongful aggression, which they were on the verge of unleashing upon the messengers. It is clear that this man held no position of authority, nor did he enjoy any protection or backing from his tribe. Yet the living faith in his heart propelled him, bringing him from the outskirts of the city to its center, driven by his inner conviction. He said, "O my people, follow the messengers, follow those who ask no reward of you and who are rightly guided." One who calls others to such a mission without seeking any reward or personal gain must surely be sincere. Otherwise, what could drive him to endure such hardship if he were not responding to a divine command? What compels him to carry the burden of the message, to confront people with a belief that contradicts their familiar creed, to face their harm, their mockery and their torment when he has nothing to gain and asks nothing of them in return? Follow those who ask no reward of you and who are rightly guided. Their guidance is evident in the nature of their call. They invite you to worship the one true God. They lead you to a clear and straightforward path. They offer you a belief free of superstition and confusion. They are truly guided to the right way and the straight path. Then he spoke to them about himself, sharing the reasons for his own faith, appealing to the innate sense of truth within them as he had been convinced by the pure instinctive evidence of reason. "And why should I not worship the one who created me and to whom you will all be returned? Should I take gods besides him? If the most merciful intends harm for me, their intercession will avail me nothing, nor can they save me. Indeed, I would then be in manifest error." This is the natural question of a soul that feels the presence of its Creator, drawn instinctively to the only source of its existence. Why should I not worship the one who created me? What could possibly turn me away from this natural course, which presents itself so clearly to the heart at the very first thought? The soul is inherently drawn to the one who created it, turning toward him naturally. It only deviates when an external force distorts its course, and it only becomes twisted by influences that are foreign to its nature. The natural inclination toward the Creator is the most straightforward, the most primal direction, one that needs no external prompting beyond the soul's own inner pull. The believer feels this deeply in his heart, and he expresses it in simple, direct terms, without any pretension, complication, or artifice. With his pure and truthful nature, he feels instinctively that every created being ultimately returns to its creator, just as everything returns to its original source. Thus, he declares, "And to him you will be returned." He wonders, why should I not worship the one who created me, to whom we all shall return? He speaks of their own return to him, for he is their creator too, and surely it is his right to be worshipped. Then he reflects on the alternative path, which deviates from the straight, natural way, seeing it as a clear error. Shall I take besides him other gods? If the most merciful intends harm for me, their intercession will be of no use to me, nor can they save me. Could anyone be more astray than one who abandons the clear logic of nature, which calls a created being to worship its creator, and instead turns to worship what is not the creator, without reason, without necessity? Could anyone be more misguided than one who turns away from the creator to worship powerless gods, who cannot protect him or avert harm when the creator wills it upon him due to his deviation and error? Indeed, I would then be in manifest error. Now, having spoken with the voice of his sincere, enlightened nature, the man declares his final decision in the face of his disbelieving, threatening people, for the voice of truth in his heart is stronger than any threat, stronger than any denial. Indeed, I have believed in your sustainer, so listen to me. And so he cast forth his confident, assured word of faith, bearing witness to it before them, as if inviting them to say it as he had said it, or as if showing he did not care what they might say in response. The narrative then implies that they gave him no chance, for they killed him, though the story does not state this explicitly. Instead, the curtain falls on this world and everything within it, on the people and all that they are doing, and it rises to reveal the martyr, who boldly declared the word of truth, following the voice of his natural instinct, flinging it in the face of those who wielded threats and torments. We now see him in the hereafter, beholding the honor that God has prepared for him, befitting a courageous believer, a sincere martyr. It was said, "Enter paradise." He said, "If only my people knew of how my sustainer has forgiven me and made me one of the honored ones." Thus, the life of this world connects with the life of the hereafter, and we witness death as merely a passage from the realm of mortality to the realm of eternity, a step that frees the believer from the narrowness of the earth into the vastness of paradise, from the arrogance of falsehood to the peace of truth, from the threats of tyranny to the security of divine grace, from the darkness of Jahiliyyah to the light of certainty. We see the believing man as he glimpses the forgiveness and honor that God has bestowed upon him in paradise, and with a heart filled with goodness and a soul at peace, he wishes his people could see him and know the grace and honor his sustainer has granted him, so that they might recognize the truth with full certainty. This was the reward of faith. As for tyranny, it was too insignificant in the sight of God for him to send down angels to destroy it. It was weak, pitifully weak. And we did not send down upon his people after him any hosts from the heavens, nor were we ever to send any. It was but a single blast, and behold, they were extinguished. Here there is no lengthy description of their destruction, for their matter is made light of, their worth diminished. It took but a single cry to snuff out their lives, and the curtain falls upon their miserable, wretched, and humiliated end. Alas for my servants! Never does a messenger come to them, but they mock him. Have they not seen how many generations we destroyed before them, who never returned to them? Yet they will all, without exception, be brought before us. And a sign for them is the dead earth which we bring to life, and from it we produce grain, from which they eat. And we have placed therein gardens of date palms and grapevines, and we have caused springs to gush forth within it, so that they may eat of its fruits, though it was not their hands that made it. Will they then not give thanks? Glory be to him who created all pears, from what the earth grows, from their own selves, and from that of which they have no knowledge. And a sign for them is the night. We strip the daylight from it, and behold, they are plunged into darkness. And the sun runs its course to a fixed resting place. That is the decree of the Almighty, the All-Knowing. And for the moon we have determined phases until it returns like an old date stalk. The sun is not to overtake the moon, nor does the night outpace the day. Each is floating in its orbit, and a sign for them is that we carried their progeny in the laden ship, and we created for them the like of it to ride upon. And if we will, we could drown them, with none to cry for help, nor could they be saved, except by a mercy from us, and as provision for a time. Yet when they are told, "Fear what lies before you and what is behind you, that you may receive mercy," never does a sign come to them from the signs of their sustainer, but they turn away from it. And when they are told, "Spend of that which God has provided for you," the disbelievers say to the believers, "Shall we feed those whom, if God had willed, he would have fed? You are but in clear error." And they say, "When will this promise come to pass, if you are truthful?" They await only a single blast, which will seize them while they are disputing, and they will not be able to make any bequest, nor will they return to their families. And the trumpet will be blown, and behold, they will rush forth from their graves to their sustainer. They will say, "Woe to us, who has raised us from our resting place?" This is what the Most Merciful had promised, and the messenger spoke the truth. It will be but a single blast, and then all of them will be brought before us. On that day, no soul will be wronged in the least, and you will only be recompensed for what you used to do. Indeed, the companions of paradise on that day will be busy in joy, they and their spouses reclining on couches in the shade. For them there will be fruits, and they will have whatever they desire. Peace, a word from a merciful sustainer. But as for you, O sinners, separate yourselves this day. Did I not command you, O children of Adam, not to worship Satan? For he is to you a clear enemy, and that you should worship me. This is the straight path, but he led astray many among you. Did you not understand? This is hell, which you were promised. Enter it today for what you used to deny. Today we will seal their mouths, and their hands will speak to us, and their feet will bear witness to what they used to earn. If we willed, we could have blotted out their eyes, and they would race along the path, but how would they see? And if we willed, we could have transformed them in their places, and they would neither be able to proceed nor return. And whomever we grant long life, we reverse him in creation. Will they not then understand? After discussing the disbelievers who opposed the call of Islam and the parable of the people of the village who rejected the truth and met their destruction, now the discourse broadens to include all those who have denied the truth throughout the ages. It paints a picture of humanity lost across generations, calling out to them in sorrow for their heedlessness, as they do not take heed from the destruction of those before them, who went ahead and will not return until the day of judgment, when all will be gathered before us. Then the discourse moves to present the signs of God's power that surround them, signs within themselves, in the world around them, and in their ancient history. Yet they remain heedless, and when reminded, they do not reflect. Never does a sign from their sustainer reach them, except that they turn away from it, and they hasten in disbelief to ask mockingly, "When will this promise come to pass, if you are truthful?" In light of their haste and mockery, a vivid scene of the day of judgment is presented before their eyes, a vision of their fate which they hasten towards, as if it were unfolding before them. "Alas for my servants! Never has a messenger come to them, but they mocked him. Have they not seen how many generations we destroyed before them, who never returned to them, and indeed all will be brought before us together?" The word "alas" conveys the deep sorrow and helplessness over a pitiable state. God, exalted be He, does not feel such regret, but He declares that the condition of these servants deserves the sorrow of those who witness such a wretched end, a state that leads them to great calamity and ruin. Alas for my servants! They are offered a chance at salvation, yet they turn away, heedless of the destruction of those who came before them, oblivious to the fates they could have learned from. Time and again, God opens the doors of His mercy, sending messengers to them, yet they spurn the messengers and mock them. Have they not seen how many generations we destroyed before them, who never returned? The destruction of the former nations, whose passing from the earth is recorded through the ages, should serve as a lesson for anyone who reflects. But these poor souls do not reflect, and they are headed towards the same ruin. What state could inspire more sorrow than this pitiful condition? Even animals tremble when they witness the death of their kind and strive to avoid it as much as they can. But what of humankind, who see ruin after ruin before them, yet blindly rush toward the same end? Deception blinds them, leading them away from the inevitable fate that beckons. This long line of ruined generations is laid out before their eyes, but they, as if blind, do not see. Even though the destroyed generations do not return to those who came after them, they are not beyond God's reckoning, nor will they escape his judgment in due time. Indeed, they fail to reflect on the destruction of those who rejected before them, and they do not comprehend the meaning of their passing away, never to return. The messengers call them to God, and all that surrounds them in the universe speaks to them of him, bearing witness to his existence. The earth, which is close to them, is dead, without life or water. Then they witness it come to life, yielding grain and adorned with gardens of date palms and grapevines, and streams of water gush forth, carrying life wherever they flow. Life is a miracle that no human hand can create. It is the hand of God that brings forth these miracles, breathing life into the lifeless. The sight of the growing crops, the flourishing gardens, the ripe fruits, these all open both the eye and the heart to the creative power of God, who splits the soil for the plant striving for freedom and light, who makes the tender shoot green under the sun's embrace, who decks the branch with leaves and fruit, who opens the blossom and ripens the fruit ready for harvest, so that they may eat of its fruits, though it was not their hands that made it. And it is God's hand that has empowered them to work, just as he empowered the plants to live and grow. Will they not then give thanks? After this gentle reminder, the discourse shifts to glorify God, who has made the plants and gardens grow for them, and who has created all living things in pairs, male and female, like humans and like the rest of his creation, which none but he knows. Glory be to him who created all pairs, from what the earth produces, from their own selves, and from that which they do not know. This glorification comes at its fitting moment, highlighting a profound truth of existence, the unity of creation, the unity of design and structure. God has created all living things in pairs, plants like humans and other forms of life, and there are things beyond human knowledge, all pointing to the one Creator. This unity hints at the oneness of the divine creative hand, which establishes a shared foundation for all life, despite the diversity of forms, sizes, types and characteristics in these creatures, known only to God. And who knows? Perhaps this is a law that extends to the entire universe, even the inanimate. It is known now that the atom, once thought to be the smallest unit of matter, consists of paired electric charges, negative and positive, that unite. Likewise, thousands of binary stars have been observed, two stars bound together, pulling each other in an eternal dance, revolving in a single orbit as if they play to a constant rhythm. This is the sign of the earth, dead but brought to life, and from it we move to the sign of the heavens and the celestial phenomena which the people witness with their own eyes, as God's hand brings forth miracles in the skies. And a sign for them is the night. We strip from it the day, and behold, they are in darkness, and the sun runs its course to a fixed resting place. That is the decree of the Almighty, the All-Knowing. And as for the moon, we have measured out phases for it, until it returns like an old withered palm stalk. Neither is it for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outstrip the day. Each is floating in its own orbit. The scene of nightfall, where the light recedes and darkness spreads, is a repeated spectacle witnessed by humankind across the world in every 24 hours, except in some regions near the poles where day or night may last for weeks or months. Despite its daily occurrence, this marvel invites contemplation and reflection. The Quranic description of this phenomenon is unparalleled in its vividness. It portrays the day as being cloaked by the night, and then God strips away the day, leaving them in darkness. We begin to understand the secret of this unique expression when we grasp the reality. The spherical earth, rotating on its axis as it faces the sun, brings each point into the light of day. But as the earth turns and that point recedes from the sun, the day is stripped away and darkness envelops it. This process repeats itself across the globe with precision, as if the light of day is peeled back to make way for the night. It is a perfect portrayal of this cosmic truth. And the sun runs its course to a fixed resting place. The sun, too, rotates on its axis. For a long time it was thought to be stationary in its position, turning only on itself. But recent discoveries have revealed that the sun is not fixed in place. It is moving, travelling through the vastness of space at an astonishing speed calculated by astronomers to be 12 miles per second. And God, its creator, fully aware of its path and destination, tells us that it moves towards a resting place known only to him, its eventual end only known to its sustainer. When we reflect on the fact that the sun is over 1 million times the size of our Earth, and that this immense body is travelling through space unsupported, we catch a glimpse of the power that governs this universe with strength and wisdom. This is the decree of the Almighty, the All-Knowing. And the moon, we have measured its phases until it becomes like an old withered palm stalk. The servants of God witness the moon in its various phases. It begins as a slender crescent, grows fuller night by night until it becomes a full moon, then begins to wane, returning once more to a thin crescent, curved like an old withered date stalk. The palm stalk refers to the withered branch from a date palm, bent and dried. Anyone who observes the moon from night to night can appreciate the profound imagery in this Quranic verse, until it returns like an old withered palm stalk. The word withered is particularly evocative. In the early nights the crescent seems fresh and youthful, but in its later stages it appears weary, shrouded in a kind of melancholy, pale and withered like the old palm stalk. This is no coincidence. The Quran's choice of words is deliberate and deeply evocative. Living with the moon night after night evokes rich and tender reflections. The human heart that accompanies the moon through its full cycle cannot help but be moved, stirred with thoughts of the beauty and majesty of creation, directed by the hand that orders the stars and celestial bodies. Whether one understands the phases of the moon or not, the mere observation of it is enough to awaken the heart, stir the emotions, and provoke thought and reflection. Finally, this passage concludes by affirming the precise and majestic order that governs these mighty celestial bodies, the harmonious system that dictates the phenomena we witness. Neither is it for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outstrip the day. Each is floating in its own orbit. Every star and planet follows its path, its orbit, which it cannot exceed. The distances between stars and planets are vast. The distance between our Earth and the Sun is approximately 93 million miles, and the Moon is about 240,000 miles away from the Earth. These vast distances, however, are minuscule when compared to the distance between our solar system and the nearest star in the skies beyond our own, a distance of about 4 light-years, and light travels at a speed of 186,000 miles per second. This means that the nearest star is roughly 25 trillion miles away. It is by the decree of God, the creator of this vast universe, that there are such immense distances between the orbits of stars and planets. In his wisdom, he designed the cosmos in this way to preserve it from collision and rupture until the appointed time. The sun cannot overtake the moon, nor can night outrun day or encroach upon its path, for the cycle that brings forth night and day is never disturbed. Neither outpaces the other, nor does one impede the other in their eternal course, and all swim in their orbits. The movement of these celestial bodies in the boundless expanse is like the movement of ships in a vast ocean. Despite their enormity, they are but floating specks in this awe-inspiring space. Man, in his insignificance, grows smaller and smaller as he gazes upon the countless spinning stars and wandering planets scattered across this vastness, swimming through the infinite. The expansive space around them dwarfs their colossal sizes, making them seem adrift in a limitless sea. A sign for them is that we carried their descendants in a laden ship and created for them vessels like it to ride upon. And if we will, we could drown them, and none would be there to cry for them, nor would they be saved by a mercy from us and a respite for a time. There is a delicate harmony in the context between the stars and planets that swim in their orbits and the laden ship that sails on water carrying the progeny of humankind. A harmony in form, in movement, and in the submission of both to God's command, safeguarded by his power whether in the heavens or upon the earth. And this too is a sign, like those seen yet ignored by mankind, though this one is closer to them and easier to grasp if only their hearts were open to its meaning. Perhaps the laden ship mentioned here is the Ark of Noah, the second father of humanity in which the progeny of Adam was saved. Then God created for them vessels like it, by which they traverse the waves. All of them, then and now, are borne by the might of God and the laws that govern the universe. These laws cause ships to float upon the surface of water, through the properties of the vessel, the water, the wind or the steam, or the atomic energy or other forces, all by God's decree, creation and design. And if we will, we could drown them, and none would cry for them nor save them, except by a mercy from us and a respite for a time. For even the mightiest ship in the vast ocean is like a feather in the wind, no matter how heavy, large, or perfectly crafted it may be. If it were not for the mercy of God, it would perish in an instant, by night or by day. Those who have sailed the seas, whether in a humble boat with a sail or a grand ocean liner, are acutely aware of the terrifying vastness of the sea, and the fragile protection from its overwhelming power. They feel the meaning of God's mercy, for it alone is the shield between them and the storms and currents of this enormous creation, whose untamed reins are held only by the hand of divine mercy. No other hand on earth or in the heavens can grasp them except until the appointed time, when the destined hour arrives in accordance with the wisdom and knowledge of the all-knowing, a respite for a time. Yet, despite such clear signs, mankind remains heedless. Their eyes are not turned toward them, nor are their hearts awakened. They do not cease from their mockery, disbelief, and haste in demanding the punishment that the messengers warn them of. When it is said to them, "Fear that which is before you and that which is behind you, that you may receive mercy," no sign of their sustainer comes to them, but they turn away from it. And when it is said to them, "Spend of that which God has provided for you," those who disbelieve say to those who believe, "Shall we feed those whom, if God willed, he could feed? You are but in manifest error." And they say, "When will this promise be, if you are truthful?" These signs alone do not stir within their hearts any longing, reflection, sensitivity, or piety, yet they are sufficient to awaken the open heart, to shake it with awe, to cause it to tremble and surge with life. They bind it to this vast existence, this open book, each of whose pages points to the greatness of the Creator and the subtleties of his design and decree. But the hearts of these blind ones are veiled. Even when they see, they do not reflect. Out of his boundless mercy, God does not leave them without a messenger to warn them, to guide them, to call them to the sustainer of this universe and the creator of this existence. The messenger stirs within their hearts a sense of awe, fear, and piety, and warns them of the causes of wrath and punishment that surround them, from before and behind. If they do not awaken to them, they fall into them step by step, as the signs continue to come upon them, adding to the cosmic signs that encompass them wherever they turn. Yet despite all of this, they remain lost in their blindness. And when it is said to them, "Beware of what lies before you and what lies behind you, that you may receive mercy," no sign from the signs of their sustainer comes to them, but they turn away in heedlessness. And when they are called to spend a portion of their wealth to feed the poor, they reply with derision and obstinacy, "Shall we feed those whom, if God willed, he would feed himself?" They mock and challenge those who call them to righteousness and charity, saying, "You are in manifest error." Their mechanical view of the matter reveals their jahiliyyah of God's ways in the life of his servants. For it is God who provides for all, and it is he who sustains everyone. All the provisions upon the earth are from his creation. They did not create any of it for themselves, nor are they capable of creating anything at all. Yet by God's design for the cultivation of this earth, mankind has been made in need of labour and effort to attain their sustenance, whether by tilling the soil, crafting its raw materials, transporting its goods from place to place, or exchanging these goods for other items or values that vary with time and location. It is also by God's decree that people differ in talents and abilities, according to the needs of this grand stewardship of the earth. This stewardship requires not only skills related to wealth and provision, but also other talents and aptitudes essential to the human mission on earth. Some may lack the ability to accumulate wealth, yet contribute essential services to this collective purpose. Within this vast and intricate web of needs, talents, and demands of life, stretching across not just one generation, but multiple generations, past, present, and future, resources naturally vary in the hands of individuals. To prevent this disparity from corrupting life and society, while acknowledging that it arises from life's dynamic movement to fulfill the human role on earth, Islam addresses individual needs by requiring the wealthy to share a portion of their wealth with the poor, ensuring their food and basic necessities. In this way, the hearts of both the rich and the poor are purified, and the social bonds between them are strengthened. Islam has ordained this sharing as zakat, a form of purification and worship binding together the rich and the poor in a virtuous society. Thus, the statement of those blinded to God's wisdom, "Shall we feed those whom, if God willed, he would feed?" and their mockery of those calling them to give, "You are in manifest error," is in fact the true and evident error. They fail to grasp the nature of God's laws, the movement of life, the vastness of its purpose, and the greatness of the goal for which talents are diversified and wealth and provisions are distributed. Islam lays down a system that guarantees fair opportunities for every individual, while allowing the diverse human activities necessary for the stewardship of the earth to proceed in an honest and wholesome manner. It then addresses any negative outcomes through its protective measures. Finally, they express their doubt about the promise and mock the warning, saying, "When will this promise come to pass if you are truthful?" But God's promise neither hastens for the urgency of mankind nor delays for their wish. Everything is decreed with precision, and every matter is tied to its appointed time. Events unfold according to God's eternal wisdom, which places everything in its proper place, every occurrence at its appointed moment. The affairs of this universe and all within it are governed by the meticulously designed plan inscribed in the clear record. The response to their mocking question is revealed in a sudden vision of the day of resurrection, where they will witness how it unfolds, not when. They await but a single blast that will seize them while they are disputing. They will not even be able to make a will nor return to their families, and the trumpet will be blown, and they will come forth from their graves, hastening towards their sustainer. They will cry out, "Woe to us! Who has raised us from our resting place?" This is what the Most Merciful had promised, and the messengers had spoken the truth. It was but a single blast, and behold, they are all brought before us. The disbelievers ask, "When will this promise come to pass?" The answer is given in the form of a swift, overwhelming scene, a blast that extinguishes all life, bringing the end to both life and the living. They await but a single cry that will seize them while they are still engaged in their disputes. They will not be able to leave a final will, nor return to their families. It will overtake them suddenly as they quarrel and bicker in the arena of life, never expecting it or preparing for it. Then, in an instant, they will be finished, each one caught in the very state they were in. No one will have time to make a last bequest or return to his family, to utter even a single word. And where are their families? They too are overtaken, each in their place, just as they are, ended like them. Then the trumpet will be blown, and they will leap forth from their graves, rushing forward in bewilderment and dread, asking, "Who has raised us from our resting place?" And their confusion will slowly fade as they begin to understand and recognize. This is what the Most Merciful had promised, and the messengers had spoken the truth. Then comes the final blast, a single cry, and behold, this scattered, bewildered multitude, hurrying in confusion, is gathered all at once. They are brought before us, assembled in ranks. The great assembly is prepared in the blink of an eye, like the echo of a sound, and the supreme decree is proclaimed to all. On this day no soul will be wronged in the least, and you shall only be recompensed for what you used to do. In this swift and overwhelming succession of scenes, there is a harmonious response to those who doubted and mocked the clear promise of that day. The narrative then shifts swiftly to show the fate of the believers, hastening to describe the bliss they now enjoy. Indeed, the companions of paradise on this day will be joyfully preoccupied. They and their spouses, reclining on couches in the shade, will be in comfort. They will have fruit and they will have whatever they desire. Peace, a word from a merciful sustainer. They are immersed in their delight, rejoicing and at ease. They rest in cool, soothing shade, reclining upon couches, in complete comfort with their spouses. They enjoy the fruits of paradise, and whatever their hearts wish for is theirs. Above all, they are honoured and dignified with this majestic greeting. Peace, a word from their merciful sustainer. As for the others, their reckoning is not passed over swiftly. Instead, it is highlighted in all its disgrace and torment. But stand apart this day, O you sinners. Did I not enjoin upon you, O children of Adam, that you should not worship Satan? Verily, he is your clear enemy, and that you should worship me. This is the straight path. Yet he led astray a great many of you. Did you not understand? This is hell, which you were promised. Enter it this day because of your denial. They will be met with humiliation and reproach. Stand apart this day, O you sinners. Separate yourselves from the believers. Did I not enjoin upon you, O children of Adam, that you should not worship Satan? Verily he is your clear enemy. And this rebuke, O children of Adam, carries a deep, cutting reproach, for it was Satan who caused their father to be expelled from paradise, and yet here they are, worshipping him, though he is their manifest enemy. And that you should worship me, this is the straight path, the path that leads directly to my pleasure. Yet he led astray a great many of you. Did you not understand? In the end, this painful scene culminates in a bitter and mocking declaration. This is hell which you were promised. Enter it this day because of your denial. But the scene does not end here. It continues, revealing a strange and terrifying moment. On this day we will seal their mouths, and their hands will speak to us, and their feet will bear witness to what they used to earn. Thus they are abandoned by their own bodies, their limbs betray them, and their very being is torn apart, each part of them exposing the lies of the other. Their hands speak, their feet testify, and every limb returns to its creator, submitting in isolation. It is a strange and dreadful scene, one that strikes awe into the heart and mind. And so the scene concludes with their tongues silenced, their hands speaking, and their feet testifying, far removed from anything they had ever known, beyond all they had expected. If God willed, he could have dealt with them differently, bringing upon them any trial he wished. Here the narrative hints at two types of tribulations that God could have brought upon them if he so willed. Had we so willed, we could have blotted out their eyes, and they would rush headlong upon the path. How then could they see? And had we so willed, we could have transformed them where they stood, so they would neither be able to move forward nor turn back. These two scenes present trials as much as they present mockery, a divine mockery directed at the deniers and scoffers, those who mockingly ask, when will this promise be fulfilled if you are truthful? In the first scene, they are blind, their eyes sealed, yet they rush forward, crowding the path, stumbling like the blind in a frantic race. They fall and trip over one another as they compete blindly. How could they possibly see? In the second scene, they are suddenly frozen in place, turned into statues that can neither advance nor retreat, after having just moments ago been blindly racing and thrashing about. In both scenes, they appear like puppets or playthings, in a state that evokes ridicule and scorn. They had once mocked the warning and taken it lightly, yet now they themselves are the subject of mockery. All this will come to pass when the promised time arrives, the very time they sought to hasten. Yet if they were to remain on this earth, if they were to live long and be granted a delay from the appointed promise, they would face an even worse fate, one they would wish had come sooner. For they are destined for old age, for senility, and the degradation of both body and mind. And whomever we grant a long life, we reverse in nature, will they not understand? Old age is a return to childhood, but without the charm and innocence of youth. The elderly regress, forgetting what they once knew, their nerves weakening, their thoughts dimming, their patience dwindling, until they revert to a state of helplessness. But while a child's lisping innocence is endearing, bringing smiles and warmth, the aged are often viewed with disdain. Their stumbles are met not with joy, but with pity and embarrassment. They are a source of mockery whenever the signs of childishness appear in their bent, frail bodies, whenever foolishness overtakes them and the years bend their backs low. Such is the fate that awaits these deniers, those who are not graced by God with the noble faith of a sound heart and mind. We have not taught him poetry, nor does it befit him. This is but a reminder and a clear Qur'an, 69, to warn whoever is truly alive and to seal the word against the deniers, 70. Have they not seen that we created for them cattle from among the things our hands have fashioned, and they are their masters, 71? And we subdued them for their use, so that some of them they ride, and some they eat, 72, and in them they have various benefits and drinks. Will they not then be grateful, 73? Yet they have taken gods besides God, hoping for help from them, 74. But they cannot help them, though they stand as a ready army for them, 75. So let not their speech grieve you. Verily, we know what they conceal and what they reveal, 76. Does man not see that we created him from a mere drop of fluid, and behold, he becomes a manifest adversary, 77, and he puts forth for us a comparison and forgets his own creation, saying, who will give life to these bones when they have decayed? 78. Say, he who created them in the first instance will give them life again, for he is fully aware of all creation. 79. He who produces for you fire from the green tree, and behold, you kindle flame from it, 80. Is not he who created the heavens and the earth able to create the likes of them? Yes, indeed, for he is the all-knowing creator, 81. His command when he wills something is only to say to it, be, and it is, 82. So glory be to him in whose hand is the dominion of all things, and to him you will all be returned, 83. In this final section of the surah, all the central themes come into focus. The nature of revelation, the oneness of God, the reality of resurrection and life after death. These themes are presented in detailed segments, accompanied by powerful imagery and profound rhythms, all directed toward emphasizing the hand of divine power at work in every aspect of creation, holding the reins of the entire cosmos. This meaning is encapsulated in the final verse. So glory be to him in whose hand is the dominion of all things, and to him you will all be returned. It is this mighty hand that created the cattle for mankind and subdued them for their service. It is this hand that brought man into being from a mere drop of fluid, and it is this hand that will resurrect the decayed bones, just as it created them the first time. It is this hand that brought forth fire from the green tree, that fashioned the heavens and the earth, and in the end, it is the hand that holds dominion over all things in this existence. This is the essence of this final passage, and we have not taught him poetry, nor does it befit him. This is but a reminder and a clear Qur'an to warn those who are truly alive and to seal the word against the disbelievers. The matter of revelation was introduced at the beginning of the surah. Yā-Sīn, by the wise Qur'an you are indeed among the messengers on a straight path, sent down by the Almighty, the Merciful, so that you may warn a people whose forefathers were not warned, and hence they remain heedless. And now this issue reappears, addressing the accusations some of them made, describing the Prophet, peace be upon him, as a poet, and the Qur'an he brought as mere poetry. Yet it was not lost on the elders of Quraysh that this claim was untrue. They knew well that the words Muhammad, peace be upon him, brought to them were unlike anything in their language. They were not so naive as to confuse the Qur'an with poetry, but this was part of the propaganda war they waged against the new faith and its messenger, exploiting the captivating beauty of the Quranic style, hoping to mislead the masses into confusing it with poetry. Here, God emphatically denies that he taught the prophet poetry. If God did not teach him, then no one else could teach him, for no one imparts knowledge except through God's will. God also declares that poetry is not suitable for the prophet, peace be upon him, nor does it befit him. Poetry follows a path different from prophecy. Poetry is an expression of emotion, an outpouring of feeling, fluctuating from one state to another. Prophethood, on the other hand, is revelation, following a steady course. It follows the straight path, adhering to the immutable law of God, which governs the entire cosmos, unwavering and unchanging by the whims of fleeting emotions, unlike poetry, which sways with the tides of ever-shifting feelings. Prophethood is an unbroken connection with God, a direct reception of divine revelation, and a constant endeavour to guide life back to God. Poetry, even at its highest form, represents a human yearning for beauty and perfection, yet it remains tainted by human limitations, shaped by man's finite perceptions and abilities. When poetry descends from these lofty heights, it may become mere bursts of emotion, sometimes reduced to cries of the flesh, surges of blood and lust. The nature of prophecy and the nature of poetry are thus fundamentally different. Poetry, even at its best, ascends from the earth, while prophecy in its essence is guidance descending from the heavens. This is but a reminder and a clear Qur'an. It is both a reminder and a Qur'an, two descriptions of a single reality, a reminder in terms of its purpose and a Qur'an in terms of its recitation. It is a reminder of God that occupies the heart, and it is a Qur'an recited by the tongue. It was sent down to fulfill a specific function, to warn those who are truly alive and to seal the word against the disbelievers. In the Quranic expression, disbelief is set in contrast to life, making disbelief akin to death, while the readiness of the heart for faith is life itself. The purpose of the Qur'an is to warn those who are spiritually alive, for they will benefit from the warning. As for the disbelievers, they are like the dead, incapable of hearing or heeding the call. The role of the Qur'an in relation to them is to record their deserved punishment, for God does not punish anyone until the message has reached them, and they reject it with full knowledge, perishing without any argument or excuse. Thus, mankind is divided in relation to this Qur'an into two groups, those who respond and are alive, and those who do not and are dead. The latter group has sealed its fate and is deserving of the punishment. The second part of this section discusses the issue of divinity and God's oneness, framed within the context of the people's own observations and the blessings bestowed upon them by the Creator, blessings for which they show no gratitude. Have they not seen that we have created for them, out of what our hands have fashioned, cattle of which they are the owners? And we have subdued these animals for their use, so that some of them they ride, and some of them they eat, and they have other benefits from them and drinks. Will they not then be grateful? Yet they have taken gods besides God, hoping for help from them. But they cannot help them, even though they stand as a ready army for them. So let not their words grieve you. Verily, we know what they conceal and what they reveal. Have they not seen? The sign of God here is visible, clear before their very eyes, neither distant nor hidden nor obscure, requiring deep thought or reflection. It is these cattle that God has created for them, placed under their ownership and subdued for their use. They ride these animals, eat their flesh, drink their milk, and gain various other benefits from them. All of this is through God's power and design, his imbuing within these creatures the characteristics necessary for human benefit. He has enabled mankind to subdue them and has made them responsive, meeting the diverse needs of human beings. But mankind has no power to create any of this, nor can they even create a fly, even if they were to gather all their might. They cannot subdue even a fly unless God has instilled in its nature the capacity to be subdued. Will they not then be grateful? And when man looks upon this matter with the eye opened by the light the Qur'an sheds, he immediately feels himself submerged in the boundless flood of God's blessings. It is a flood manifest in everything around him. Each time he mounts a beast, each time he eats a morsel of meat, drinks a sip of milk, or enjoys a slice of butter or cheese, or dons a garment made from hair, wool or fur, and so on and so on. In each of these simple acts, there is a tender touch that awakens his heart to the presence of the Creator, to his mercy and his grace. And this awareness extends to everything his hand touches, everything he uses, whether living or inanimate, in this vast universe. His entire life becomes a constant glorification of God, a hymn of gratitude and worship, day and night. But mankind does not give thanks. Among them are those who, despite all this, have taken deities besides God. And they have taken gods besides God, hoping to be helped by them. They cannot help them, though they stand as their ready soldiers. In the past, these gods were idols, statues, trees, stars, angels, or jinn, and paganism persists even today in some corners of the earth. Yet those who do not worship these idols have not fully embraced monotheism either. Their polytheism may take other forms, manifesting today in the belief in false powers besides God, in reliance on supports other than Him. Polytheism wears many faces, changing with the times and places. They took these deities seeking victory through them, while it was they who were actually defending and protecting their gods from harm or desecration. They were the soldiers, ever ready to defend their idols, and they stand as their ready soldiers. This was the height of absurdity in their thoughts and perceptions. But today most people have not advanced much beyond this absurdity, only in appearance. Those who deify tyrants and oppressors are not far removed from the worshippers of idols and statues. They too are the soldiers of these tyrants, protecting their reign and their oppression, all the while prostrating in submission before them. Indeed, paganism remains paganism in all its forms. Wherever the pure creed of monotheism falters, there arises paganism, polytheism, and the jahiliyyah of jahiliyyah. Mankind's only safeguard is pure monotheism, which singles out God alone as the one to be worshipped, God alone to be depended upon, God alone to be obeyed and revered. So let not their words grieve you. Verily, we know what they conceal and what they reveal. This is addressed to the messenger, peace be upon him, as he faces those who have taken deities besides God, those who neither give thanks nor remember him. He is reassured about their schemes and their rejection. They are fully exposed to God's knowledge. Everything they plan and everything they possess is under his watchful eye. The prophet has nothing to fear from them, for their affairs are laid bare before the All-Powerful, and God surrounds them from behind. Thus, their matter becomes insignificant, no longer a source of concern for the believer who places his trust in God. For he knows that God is fully aware of what they conceal and what they reveal, and they are within his grasp, though they may not realize it. The third section of this passage addresses the matter of resurrection and the revival of the dead. Does not man see that we created him from a drop of fluid, and behold, he becomes an open adversary? And he makes comparisons for us and forgets his own creation, saying, "Who will give life to these bones when they have decayed?" Say, he will give them life who created them the first time, and he is all-knowing of every creation. He who made for you fire from the green tree, and behold, you kindle fire from it. Is not he who created the heavens and the earth able to create the like of them? Yes, indeed, for he is the knowing creator. His command, when he wills something, is but to say to it, "Be," and it is. This section begins by confronting man with his own reality, his very being and origin, something he sees with his own eyes and senses repeatedly in his life, yet he fails to reflect upon its significance. He does not take from it a confirmation of God's promise to resurrect and revive him after death and decay. Does man not see that we created him from a mere drop of fluid, and behold, he becomes a clear adversary? What is this drop of fluid, the source of which man has no doubt? It is but a humble speck of water, without form or worth, a tiny droplet containing thousands of cells, and from these multitudes only one cell becomes the embryo, which then becomes this human being, this being who now disputes with his sustainer, contending and demanding proof and evidence. And it is the Creator's power that transforms this drop into such a clear adversary. How vast is the difference between his origin and his ultimate form! Does man truly find it so difficult to believe that this same power could return him to life after death and decay? He presents for us an argument, forgetting his own creation, saying, "Who will give life to these bones when they have crumbled to dust?" Say, "He who brought them into being the first time will give them life, for he is well versed in every kind of creation." Oh, the simplicity of it! How obvious it is to the pure heart and to the eye that sees reality plainly. Is a drop of fluid any more alive, any more potent, any more valuable than a crumbling bone? Was it not from such a drop that man himself was created? Is this not the very first creation? And is not the one who turned that drop into a living, disputing human being also able to resurrect these decayed bones and create a new living being? The matter is so plain, so obvious, that it should not even be a question. So why then the endless debate? Say, "He who brought them into being the first time will give them life once more, for he is well versed in every kind of creation." And to make it even clearer, God shows them the signs of his creative power through what lies before them and in their own hands. "He who made for you fire from the green tree, and behold, from it you kindle flames." The most basic observation affirms the truth of this marvel. This marvel they pass by without reflection. How strange it is that this green tree, lush with water, when its branches rub against each other, can produce fire. That this very tree, so supple and full of life, becomes the fuel for that fire. And the deeper knowledge of science further magnifies this wonder, the understanding that the green tree stores the sun's energy, which it absorbs while still moist and verdant. This energy, when released through friction, kindles fire, just as it does when the tree is burned. It is God who endowed the tree with these properties, just as he created and guided all things. Yet we do not perceive with open eyes, nor contemplate with awakened hearts, and so the secrets of the universe remain veiled to us, and we miss the signs that point to the Creator. But if we were to open our hearts to these signs, they would reveal their wonders to us, and we would live in a constant state of worship and praise. And then he continues to offer proofs of his power, simplifying the matter of creation and resurrection for all of humanity. Is not he who created the heavens and the earth able to create the likes of them? Yes, indeed, for he is the knowing Creator. The heavens and the earth, what a vast and wondrous creation they are. This earth on which we live, shared with millions of species and forms of life, yet we, humans, are so small compared to its size, and know so little of its true nature. Even to this day, our knowledge of it remains limited. This earth is but a small satellite of the sun, on whose light and warmth our small planet depends. And this sun is only one of 100 million in a single galaxy, our galaxy. And this galaxy is but one of countless others in the universe. Astronomers have counted at least 100 million galaxies with their telescopes, and they await even more discoveries as their instruments grow more powerful. The distance between our galaxy and the next is around 750,000 light-years, and one light-year is equivalent to 26 trillion miles. There are immense masses of nebulae from which these stars are thought to have been formed, and this is only the portion of the universe within the reach of our limited knowledge. These countless stars, each with its own orbit, many with planets revolving around them just as the Earth orbits the Sun, all moving with precision and persistence. Never do they cease or falter, for if they did, the visible universe would collapse, and these immense bodies would collide in the vast expanse of space. This space, where these millions of stars float like tiny specks, is so immense that even trying to comprehend it makes the mind reel. Is not he who created the heavens and the earth able to create the likes of them? And where do humans stand in comparison to this vast and awe-inspiring creation? Indeed, he is the Creator, the all-knowing. But God, exalted be He, creates all this without effort or toil. To him the creation of the vast and the small is the same. When he wills something, his command is but to say to it, "Be," and it is. Whether it be a heaven or an earth, a mosquito or an ant, both are the same before the command "Be," and it is. There is no difficulty or ease for him, no near or far. His will alone is sufficient for a thing to come into being, no matter what it is. Yet God simplifies matters for humanity so they may understand, using their limited human scale. At this point, the final refrain of the surah echoes, portraying the ultimate truth of the relationship between creation and the Creator. So exalted is He in whose hand is the dominion of all things, and to Him you will be returned. The word dominion in this form magnifies and elevates the reality of this relationship, the relationship of absolute ownership and control over everything in existence. And to Him alone is the final return and destination. This is the fitting conclusion to this tremendous journey, to the entire surah, and to its themes, revolving around this great truth that encompasses all things.